Evening and welcome to the Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. A meeting was held at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall for clarification of the agenda. The following is the official agenda of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion and commission action will be limited to those items on the agenda. Any citizen wishing to address the commission shall first be recognized by the chair and shall give his or her name. These are the same. His or her name for the record. If the citizens wish to read any documentation of any sort to the commission, they shall first seek permission from the chair. There is a 3-minute limitation to the public testimony to the commission. We will get to agenda item number 1, which is roll call. Aislinn?
Eugene Bartow?
Here. Oh, I visited the site, yes.
Agenda item number 3 or 4?
Which one did you visit?
3.
Thank you.
Crystal Chanda?
Here, and I made site visits for agenda item number 3 and 4.
Whitney Fenwick?
Here, and I made site visits to agenda item 3 and 4.
Roger Fry?
Here, I made site visits to agenda items 3 and 4.
Present, and I made site visits to agenda items 3 and 4.
Richard Phillips?
Here with site visits being made to agenda items 3 and 4.
Oh, and we have Shikyu unexcused this evening.
Thank you. We will continue on to agenda item number 2, the approval of minutes. The commission may wish to approve the minutes from the clarification and regular meetings held on January 22nd, 2023. Is there any discussion by the commission on the January 22, 2023 meeting minutes?
No.
With no further discussion, I would like to entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2023 as presented.
Second?
I have a motion by Hewlett and a second by Phillips. Aislinn, will you please call vote?
Hewlett?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Bartow?
Here.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Chanda?
Yes.
Fenwick?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Right now, we will move on to agenda item number 3, which is a public hearing. First, I would like to explain the procedures. The application presentation has a limit of 10 minutes. There is 3 minutes limit on public testimony. Those presenting or testifying shall state their name for the record. While giving testimony, questions and comments should be pertinent to the application and should be addressed only to the commission. During the public hearing, there should be no questions, comments, or applause from the audience. Should the meeting go any longer than 8 p.m., the commission shall take a scheduled 10-minute break. Commission members must make their decisions regarding the application on facts already in the record. So agenda item number 3 is a public hearing for a conditional use permit file 22-3617. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding a request by Gary Ratliff, represented by Frank Nutting, for a conditional use permit to build storage units at 2806 South 5th. The property is located in a commercial general zoning district, which allows storage units through a conditional use permit. At this time, I declare the public hearing open, and I would like to invite the applicant to come forward.
Will Claver, assistant planner, Frank Nuding, the representative, and Gary Ratliff, the applicant, are not present today.
Thank you. So at this time, I would invite staff to come forward. Thank you.
Will Claver, assistant planner for City of Pocatello. Just as a little bit of background, the application has already gone through the CUP process back in 2019, 2020, where it was approved. And they were, it's been 2 years, and our process is if the conditional use permit or CUP hasn't been established within that time, it has timed out and they need to apply for a new one. And so they are going through that process again. The
Keep going.
The applicant, Gary Ratliff, represented by Frank Nuding, is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for new storage units to be developed within the Commercial General CG zoning district. The subject property, including 4 taxing parcels totaling 5.56 acres, more or less, is located at 2806 South Fifth Avenue. The zoning for the subject property is Commercial General, and the proposed use is storage units, which is permitted in the Commercial General zoning district only through the approval of a conditional use permit. Up on the screen, you can see the parcels in question, which is this one, this one, this one, and this one. So the cemetery is here. There's a trailer court to the north, and then this is Fifth Avenue with the South Fifth interchange down below. All notices have been provided at least 15 days prior to the public hearing or as otherwise required by Idaho State Code. No public comment has been received at the completion of the staff report, nor before this presentation has taken place. Conditional uses are uses that are allowed within a zoning district, provided that certain standards or conditions are met and that will enhance the compatibility of the proposed use with other surrounding uses. Often conditional uses are unique and their effect on the surrounding environment cannot be determined in advance of a specific proposal for a particular location. Application for a conditional use permit affords the city an opportunity to review the location, design, configuration, and potential impact of the proposed use on surrounding land uses. Page 2 of the staff report outlines condition types that can be placed upon the applicant or upon this conditional use permit. The 2015 comprehensive plan identifies the subject property for commercial. This property is currently zoned commercial general, which is consistent with the 2015 comprehensive plan commercial designation. This designation is intended to support zoning districts that allow commercial uses. The commercial designation also allows for second-story residential uses, most community services uses, public and quasi-public uses such as parks or schools or some public facilities. When conducting an analysis of the goals, objectives, and policies, they both support and undermine the proposed storage unit development. For instance, Chapter 13 states, "Our first impression can mean the difference in investing here or investing elsewhere. The promotion of quality design is an important component of attracting growth, increasing marketability, and improving community morale. Good design is the key element to implementing compact development, infill and redevelopment, and mixed-use development concepts without sacrificing neighborhood livability." Furthermore, Chapter 13 calls out South 4th and South 5th Ave to have tree-lined boulevards and landscaping along the right-of-ways as a feature employed in many of the most successful places around the world. The uses of landscaping as part of the streetscapes is practiced by many in the West. And in addition to the simple aesthetic benefit, it also provides a better buffer between pedestrian and traffic, creates a visual corridor that is preferred by many, adds additional shade in the summer, which helps reduce what is referred to as the heat island effect, and provides another opportunity to develop our own identity. Areas most desired of this type of improvement are Yellowstone Avenue, South 4th Avenue, South 5th Avenue, Garrett Way, and Alameda Road. Chapter 5, Goal 4, specifically Policy F, says work with property owners, contractors, developers, and real estate brokers to redevelop underutilized properties and to work with infill development. So this is an infill development area, and it could be seen as that, but it's also next to those designated channels. The surrounding area is as follows. The proposal will be harmonious in scale, mass, coverage, density, and intensity with the adjacent permitted land uses within the commercial general and public lands facility zoning districts. The adjacent land zoned as public land facilities includes the cemetery to the south and Ross Park area to the across South Fifth Avenue and is currently owned by the city of Pocatello. The adjacent property to the north is zoned a commercial general and is not currently occupied by a business operation. The adjacent property to the east is zoned roughly half commercial general and half residential medium-density multifamily, and is developed with the Cowboy RV and mobile home park, which are not permitted in the CG or RMM zoning. However, the subject park was established prior to the current ordinance. Overall, this development can work in the area. It has adequate public facilities and services which are existing and available. The proposed development will not be detrimental to the public interest, health, safety, or welfare of the city in its proposed location, size, design, and operating characteristics. The proposed self-service storage units will generate less impact to traffic patterns and municipal services than many of the other uses permitted outright in the commercial general zoning district, such as eating and drinking establishments and retail shops. The site will be fenced with slated fencing, and landscaping will be provided, and municipal services are available to serve property, and all applicable standards of the city code pertinent to the development shall be apply at the time of the building permit. All stormwater generated by the development shall be maintained on site. In regards to the location of the proposed conditional permit being on South Fifth and South Fourth and those commercial corridors, to minimize the effect on the public interest, as outlined in the comprehensive plan, it is recommended that there be a condition set forth that the south end shall be screened with either a privacy fence or landscaping. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer those for you.
Commission, any questions for staff?
I have a question regarding the drives within here. And the staff report is talking about allowing them to have compacted gravel instead of paving that.
They need to have it paved in
Right.
the parking area and per the Public Works standards.
So this reads like you're going to allow them to have gravel, is what this says.
I believe, and maybe Merrill,
Oh,
where
that
there's
could be part of
parking
the-
will be paved, but between where you just go and load or unload would be gravel.
Is that correct, Carol? Yes, that's correct.
Okay, okay.
I have a question as well, and it's probably for Merrill.
Okay.
Do you know if there are approach permits to these lots from ITD, or if that's going to be a problem?
That will be, Merrill Quell, Public Works Engineer for the city of Pocatello. And yes, in our staff report, the Public Works part is that we are asking for that approach to be lined up with the road across there, the short road. So there's not some cross traffic trying to get out and try to get around to Fourth and so forth. And
Garden Street, is that correct?
Yeah, it's Garden Street. That's
Yeah.
this little section, a couple 100 feet long or 100-foot long. And it will require that they go to ITD to have the construction permits and that to be permitted.
Okay. Thank you. Commission, any other questions for Merrill or Will?
They also mentioned that front parking area being set back to allow for a truck and trailer to pull in there without having to stop traffic on.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
I see condition number 7 shows that the applicant shall maintain a landscaped rear setback of 10, but I don't know, it's 10 feet, excuse me. I'm looking for the condition that says they have to maintain a 10-foot setback along the south side, along the cemetery there.
So at the time of the report was created, staff was grappling of how to do this, and that's a new consideration that we would like to propose to you guys to consider.
I see, so we can add that
Yes, that's
as a
correct.
condition tonight, and that would be a 10-foot.
It's not a 10-foot, it's just a landscape buffer, or you can do a 10-foot landscape buffer, you can do a 5-foot landscape buffer, you can do whatever you feel is necessary, or it could be just a fence. the language of a additional landscape or a privacy fence would do.
That's the cemetery right there. I think it would
Yeah.
maybe be wise to include that just for a number of reasons, but how do we, if we're in agreement there, how do we want to word that? Do we want 10 foot? Do we want 5 foot? Are we okay with just a privacy fence?
I think once we hear from any public that wants to talk on it, it might help us.
Okay.
I also think we should consider something for the east where there's homes right there.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
and I
more
think
so
that
than the
is- Well,
cemetery.
I think that's part of the condition, right?
Yeah, the east right here.
Yeah, a landscape rear setback.
Oh, okay.
So they're covered that way. It's just the cemetery right now that doesn't have anything in it. I think something certainly should
So
be
there's-
added.
So a setback, but not landscaping or a privacy fence.
Correct. It's a 10-foot
A landscape rear
buffer.
setback.
Yeah.
Is that what it says?
Yeah,
Applicant shall
it says a
maintain a
landscape
landscape rear
rear
setback
setback.
of 10 feet.
We could
So
always
there's landscape,
say,
not a fence on the area next to the trailer.
That's how it's currently
This
proposed.
needs to match.
right, yeah. Any other questions for staff? No? Okay, doesn't mean we won't call you back up. Thank you. All right, so at this time, we're going to open it up for public comment. Just a reminder that when you come to the podium, you need to state your name. You need to give your address. You do remember to only address the commission, not the audience or the applicant. You have 3 minutes to testify. When time stops, when time runs out, you'll be asked to stop. Keep questions and comments pertinent to the application and do not duplicate questions, concerns, or comments from previous testimony. So at this time, I would like to invite anybody providing testimony in support of the application to come forward. Anybody providing testimony uncommitted to the application? And anyone providing testimony opposing the application? All right, I'm assuming since the applicant isn't here, he doesn't want to rebuttal. So with no further testimony, I will declare the public hearing closed. Commission, how would you like to proceed?
My thoughts on the landscape buffer is that it should match what's next to the trailer court. This should match. So that looks nice. I would not want to have a landscape buffer and then a fence and then a landscape buffer
Is
in
it,
the front.
that property's 400 feet wide. Does that sound right? That property's 400 feet wide.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I think by the time you put trees in and everything else, it's hard to keep it at 5 feet. I guess my question is what if they would prefer to do a privacy fence?
What if we made a condition of that they do a privacy fence on the east and south sides, or they can do a landscape buffer, but they have to have trees, so many trees, so many feet of such caliber?
Every 35 feet is what's designated here, on the frontage at least.
That's what's on the front.
Yeah.
I think, what's the correct spacing for trees on landscape buffer?
Typically 30 feet every 30 feet. Will Claver, assistant planner. Typically, it's the spacing for trees is every 30 feet. Something to consider is the applicant's not here to talk about if the 10-foot buffer will change the proposal drastically. You might want to consider postponing if you're going to make added suggestions or recommendations or conditions to push back until he can be here to represent himself. So,
Yeah.
And it's been on the agenda, so
sounds good
thank
to
you.
me. I just wanted to point that out.
They know when they turned in their application.
I agree, but I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
make that recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. So are we okay if we make that condition where it's either a privacy fence chain link. Do we have a city code for privacy fence, what that has to be?
Is that the slatted fence?
I think there's several
Just wondering
different
if we have to
options.
spell it out or if code does that for us.
And my colleague actually corrected me. It's 20 feet, every 20 feet for
Yeah,
trees.
that 30 seemed far.
This looked like it called for 35, but obviously.
I think,
And let me make sure. It's code does not speak specifically on what a fence, a privacy fence is. There is some sections that talk about a solid wall at least 6 feet high, or you can like, typically a privacy fence, at least in my experience, has been 6 feet high.
Yeah.
And, but we don't necessarily say how you have to have that privacy.
right, and so what I would hate to do, not that they would, but they could come in and put up a 3-foot fence or
Right.
something, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that's why I'm wondering if it's spelled out or if we need to spell it
I
out.
would spell it out as much as possible.
I think 20 feet along the east with the residential would be adequate. I think the 30 or 35 along the south would be adequate. I don't think those neighbors are going to mind as much.
As far as spacing on the trees?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about, okay.
No, I don't, I see what you're saying, Crystal, along the cemetery. I don't think they're going to mind either. I do think that there will be, you know, I don't know how often they have, a burial, is that
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it
yeah,
is? Burials there,
yeah.
I just want to make sure that,
Right.
that those aren't interrupted with.
And
And truthfully, these are about as quiet a neighbors as you can get right next to each other, right? I mean, it doesn't get more quiet than storage units in a cemetery, but just out of respect to those. that
well,
will be-
and I would assume security reasons, they probably already have something planned out around it, you know?
Yeah.
So if we give them an option of one or the other, I think that would help them out.
Okay.
Any further discussions or questions? With that, I would entertain a motion. And just a reminder that we are using the provided sheet for this motion.
I move to approve the application from Gary Ratliff for a conditional use permit to allow for new storage units to be developed within the commercial general zoning district, finding the application does meet the standards for approval under chapter 17.02.130 of Pocatello Municipal Code with the conditions listed in the staff report, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact. Additionally, I would add the condition that along the along the south boundary of the property, the developer, you're going to have to help me cut this down. The developer is responsible for the installation of either a 6-foot tall slatted or solid privacy fence,
That minimum height?
yeah,
You said slatted?
yes, slatted or solid. Privacy fence or a 10-foot landscape buffer with trees every 20 feet.
Is there any power lines going with it?
What about the east?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
it is.
do you want to spell that out more?
So
the
this
east-
one would be the east and not
This is the south. This is
Okay.
along the cemetery. Along the neighborhood, it already, in the condition, it already calls for
Right.
a landscape, a 10-foot landscaped buffer.
But it doesn't specify if that is so many trees, so many feet?
One tree for
Every 20
everybody.
feet. Okay, perfect. Thank you
Yeah,
for
code spells it
clarifying.
out,
Okay,
so.
yeah, I'm good with that.
I second.
So we have a motion by Phillips with a condition and a second by Hewlett. Aislinn, will you call vote?
Phillips,
Yes.
Hewlett,
Yes.
Bartu,
Yes.
Chanda,
Yes.
Fenwick,
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move on to agenda item number 4, which is a public hearing for a zone map amendment, file 2373. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding a request by Jay Bullwinkle of MGPB Plus A Studio to rezone the property generally located at the 1500 block Lakeview View Drive from the existing zoning of residential medium-density single-family, RMS, and residential estate, RE, to residential medium-density multifamily, RMM. The property includes 6 parcels and encompasses a land area of 17.33 acres, more or less. At this time, I declare the public hearing open. And I would like to invite the applicant to come to the podium. Please remember to state your name, and you have a time limit of 10 minutes.
Thank you. Michael Bells, I'm representing the Grove Apartments and CMJ Holdings, which encompasses the 17 acres that we are discussing. With me tonight, I have Candace and Justin. Candace is with a local property management company, Cornerstone. They currently manage the existing apartments. And Justin is with, representing Jay with our designing firm for the future project. Justin will do most of this presentation. I think the point I just want to clarify is the existing Grove Apartments it's currently zoned incorrectly, and we're just looking to update the zoning on those apartments so it matches what is already there. And then the land, we want to change to medium density multifamily. So go ahead, Justin.
Thanks, Michael. Will you pause it for a second?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry about that. My name is Justin Hawley. I'm with MGB&A Studio in Salt Lake City. We're a landscape architecture and planning firm. We were contacted last year by Jeff Hawks to take a look at this spot of land and run some grading studies and see if it's a developable area that we could do. And in fact, it is. So, let's see here. Just to give you some context.
Will you speak up just a little bit to
Sure.
make sure the microphone can hear you and we can? Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll give you some context here. So the little red dot here is
We're
the
not
site
seeing
in
anything.
question. Right here. Oh, we're not. Nope. What's going on? That didn't. Why are we seeing that one slide, not the others?
It's not updating.
It's very strange.
We've paused your time. Maybe,
Okay, sorry, it was working a minute ago.
We swear this has never happened.
Ever.
It was working.
time's up, sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Application denied.
Oh, resumes.
Oh, there we go. Right. Thank you. Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
here we go.
Perfect. Okay. So, the red dot here. Sorry. Okay, red dot. Why are we not seeing this here? Anyway, the red dot you see is where the site is located. It's just west of I-15. It's north of Ammon Park, and it's split up into 2 properties that are in question. And one sits on the north side of the Grove Apartments, one sits on the south side. Now you can see from these pictures I included. Oh, yes, thank you. So, yeah, right there. And then you can see these pictures here are pictures we took from the site that show it's become kind of a trash heap. It looks like there's some debris just kind of scattered here, some pallets up here, and a road that just terminates here. We are looking at this as essentially a cleanup project and an infill project. Since we have the Grove Apartments there that aren't moving, We are looking at essentially infilling and cleaning up the surrounding property. So, this is the area in question. This shaded area in the middle is the Grove apartments that exist. This smaller triangular shaped piece to the north is where we anticipate smaller townhomes going in, 6 units total, with 14 units of surface parking. This southern area that we're hoping to develop, and that encompasses 94 units, and they will have attached parking, 2-car garages. I'll get to the next slide further. Why is this?
It obviously likes staff better than you.
I don't know what's going on. Resume slideshow, yes.
What secret button did you push, Will?
Yeah, I did resume slide. I don't know what's going on. I did that. And I hit the slide.
I mean, it's showing the video as well.
Did that. Oh, it came up then.
Sorry, it's just me.
They want to sit here?
Yeah, stay close, please.
Okay, so this is the 94 units to the south.
Okay.
Now, with this area, we're looking at adding public amenities to the site. We're looking at an ADA accessible path and trail system. We're looking at a dog run down here.
That's what that is.
It's directly adjacent to Ammon Park. This is all conceptual. It's still up in the air. We're still modifying the design. So what you're seeing here is not set in stone. It's just what potentially could happen. What's going on? Okay, so that's very strange. I got you.
Yeah.
Please.
You got this, please.
Just one little slide up there. It's the 6 units.
This one?
No, this one.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. There's the 6 units to the north. And from what Michael told me, that's potentially going to be the first phase of this whole project. So we're doing the 6 units there, surface parking, they're gonna be essentially attached, not literally, but basically in location to the northernmost Grove apartment building. And it's just gonna
Okay.
kind of go from there.
So they'll use the same entrance.
Correct.
Sorry, you finish your presentation. It's not my turn to ask questions.
That's fine. So, but yes,
figure out too.
the same entrance, the same surface, everything. So zoned on the Bannock County map, it looks like that entire parcel along with Ammon Park is zoned RE. So I bumped up and made that solid, which is our parcel, which includes the Grove Apartments.
Okay.
And we are just, there we go, anticipating it to be turned into residential medium-density family, multifamily, to accommodate the Grove Apartments which exist and accommodate the potential construction that will happen on site. That's what we have.
Commission, any questions for the applicants?
I do, actually. On that conceptual drawing, you showed that lower road.
Yes,
This is just a
Actually
trick to see if you can
connecting to
pull it
Hammond?
back up.
Oh, now it works
Right there.
fine?
right there.
Shows that lower road actually cutting across the park property, city property to
Correct.
connect to Hammond
So
Street.
that'll be an updated road that the developer will pay for, and it'll connect to the perpendicular Ammon Road or Ammon Street.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Yes, yep.
Will then the city be responsible for taking care of that road?
Yes.
Public road,
Okay,
right?
so it will be a public road. Okay.
I noticed there was already a stop sign on that.
There is.
I noticed the turn on your faucets so your pipe don't freeze sign. I appreciated that. Good job. Commission, any other questions for the applicant at this time?
No.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to invite staff to come forward.
Just one moment. It's been a little while since Perfect. All right. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Carl Anderson. I'm a senior planner here with the City of Pocatello. Sometimes it can be a little quiet, so if I am, please feel free to let me know, tug on your ear, and I will do my best to speak up. So just to reiterate some of the what the applicant said earlier. So what you have before you is a zone map amendment in the 1500 block of Lakeview Drive. The applicant is MGBA and Studios, representing three separate property owners, Grove Apartments Pocatello, Hawks Investment LLC, CMJ Holdings LLC, and that's kind of based on some of the deed work that was provided with the application. One point of clarification before I forget, the agenda says that this is file number 2373. I do believe that it's file number 223520, just for that point of clarification.
We'll make sure that's corrected for the
Findings of fact.
findings of facts. Yep, thank you.
So all notification requirements for this have been met. At the time of the completion of the report, and today no written public comment has been received, though staff has received multiple phone calls on the application. So general background, as previously stated, sorry it's a little dark up here on the screen. The property here includes about 6 parcels. You got 6 total parcels here. The existing zoning, and I'll get to that, is residential medium density single family and residential estate. The proposed zoning or requested zoning is residential medium density multifamily. The total land area is 17.33 acres, more or less. The map here is provided by the applicant, providing the legal display description for the property. So again, the rezone area is through here. Hammond Park's here to the south, in the neighborhood on the north and west. So the current comprehensive plan is here. The yellow indicates residential on the comprehensive plan land use map. The green indicates public. So when going through when you look at our conversion chart in city code, residential aligns with 5 different residential zoning districts. Residential estate, going from lowest density to highest density, goes residential estate, residential low density, residential medium density single family. Oop, I skipped one. Residential estate, residential low density. I'm good. Residential medium density single family, residential medium density multifamily, and residential high density. So here you'll see kind of a depiction on that existing zoning. So the green here is residential estate. You'll notice that the park is also indicated as residential estate. It is a permitted use in that zone as far as I can tell. However, it would more closely align based on the comp plan with the public designation in our zoning district. However, that's not part of this request. Here you have residential estate, which has these 2 parcels here, and maybe this parcel here with the existing Grove Apartments located on them. This is the bare ground that's 9 acres and some change that the applicant has discussed providing potentially townhomes through here. And also up here is also residential estate. Residential medium density single family is this orange section through here. And residential high density is up here. So in residential medium density single family, it permits things generally like single family, duplexes, townhomes, with varying lot sizes for each. Residential high density up here prevents single family, townhomes, duplexes, as well as multifamily. And this is our highest density zoning district through here, although it hasn't really built out to that way. So residential estate doesn't permit, it permits single family homes, and it's primarily residential uses. The minimum lot size for a single family home in the residential estate zoning district is 15,000 square feet. For comparison, in the RMS zoning district, it's going to be 5,000 square feet per single family home. So just some brief background that I've been able to tell. So this zoning ordinance was adopted in 2008, I believe. And it's based on a zoning ordinance that was in place from approximately 1981 to 2008 when it was fully repealed and replaced. I'm sure there were different iterations that took place, but generally the previous zoning district kind of relied more so on topography and things like that. So I believe when this was rezoned, it was taken based on kind of what that would align with the zoning and not necessarily the existing built conditions in here, as I believe these apartments were built. And I did provide some historic aerials in the staff report, kind of show some of the timeline on that. This is from our slope percentage map. This kind of gives you an idea on slope. It's showing here is slopes ranging from 15 to 35%. And you may see like this red here is anything 35 to 82%. That's important because what that does is that triggers that this will likely be subject to slope development standards. So things like geotechnical reports would be required. There are some potential density and open space requirements that come with that. Some of that is dependent on how much of this has already been disturbed when looking at density and open space. So I try to keep my staff reports, my presentations high level, identify a few things, and try to leave time for questions as well. So just a quick summary. So the proposed change in the zoning does not require a comprehensive land use map amendment, where the requested zoning is residential, which aligns with the residential designation on the comp plan, similarly to the residential nature of the other zones adjacent. The existing zoning designation of RMS and RE appear to generally follow the zone map that was in place from 81 to 2008. The current zoning designation was assigned in 2008 during a full repeal and replace of the zoning ordinance. It does not appear that the existing apartments were considered at that time, which are not permitted in either of the existing zoning districts. Excuse me. The subject request will bring the existing use more into compliance with the current code. And that's one point I would like to discuss just a little bit. So while it will bring those apartments more into compliance with the zoning code, whereas apartments would be permitted, they still would not necessarily meet the minimum lot size of the RMM. I think they were short 6 or 7 units when just doing that high level calculation. The next step up would be RH. However, that would potentially open that up to quite a bit more density. So this does improve the non-conforming situation, though, of the apartments. And then when looking at the RMM zoning district to the south, when we're talking multifamily or townhomes, the minimum lot size per dwelling unit is the same. It's 3,630 square feet per dwelling unit, so whether it's apartment or a townhome. So if it were to go RMS, for example, it wouldn't permit the multifamily, but the townhome requirement would be 4,000. So the site is physically suitable for the type and intensity of land uses permitted under the RMM zoning district, which primarily facilitates residential development. The type and intensity of land uses are predominantly residential in nature and are consistent with the residential nature of the surrounding area, which have similar topography comprised of slopes gradually ranging from 0 to 35% as you kind of move up through those gullies and so forth. One point of clarification too on the staff report based on a phone call I had this morning with a member of the public. On section E4 in there, you'll notice it talks about if the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district will be adequately served by public facilities and so forth. One point I'd like to make when looking at police specifically, some of that is based on assumption where that is here in the built environment, and as my understanding is that it's based on things like response time and so forth. So the police department is not on the utility notice that's described here as well. We will be moving to include them on the utility notice moving forward, but I just want the commission to be aware of that. It was a good point that was brought up this morning. The requested zoning will reduce the nonconformity in the existing multifamily development with the current zoning ordinance, whereas multifamily is permitted in the RMM zoning district, not within the RMS or RE zoning districts. Additionally, the requested zoning will facilitate the development of housing options at a density compatible with adjacent zoning designations. Before I get into my recommendation, one thing I would like to remind the commission of is that this is a rezoning application. So while the applicant has presented potential site designs for the site, if for some reason the applicant does not develop the site to that design, or somebody else purchases the property, if the commission and council were to approve the rezoning, it would be open to the uses permitted under that zoning district. That's why you'll notice that the staff report is predominantly focused on the zoning. And again, it would change the zoning. So should they subdivide or other processes, so if they're doing townhomes, that indicates that there would be a subdivision involved. That would likely require at least a preliminary and final plat. Preliminary plat is a public hearing and would come before the commission for a decision. In consideration of the application, staff concludes that the proposed zoning map amendment is compliant with Pocatello City Code 1702-170. A full analysis is detailed within the staff report with the conditions here listed below. I believe that's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
I had a question for you and I forgot what it was. Commission, do you have any questions for staff?
No.
I like you. I had one question I had wrote down right from the get-go, and you may have covered it, and that is, there in this rezoning, it is going to include these existing properties that were grandfathered. Am I? Yeah. So now they're going to be all consistent.
That is correct. So the applicant's requesting on this map here, you'll see. And in your
yes. So they'll all be part.
Yes,
of
everything will be consistent.
Consistent. That was
parcel.
My question.
Thank
it would be a good time to do that.
Good question.
The phone calls you received are mostly questions clarifying what was going on?
Most of the phone calls that I recall receiving were from residents of the apartment complex. And then I spoke to one gentleman while I was posting a sign on site. And then I had a phone call just kind of generally related to the project and some general concerns.
Thank you. Commission, any other questions for staff?
No. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So once again, we're going to open it up for public testimony. I want to remind you that when you come to the podium, state your name. Remember to only address the commission, not the audience or the applicant. You have 3 minutes to testify. When you'll be asked to stop when time runs out. Keep questions and comments pertinent to the application, and please do not duplicate any questions that were previously heard today. And at this time, I would like to invite anybody providing testimony to support the application forward. Anyone providing testimony uncommitted to the application? Anyone providing testimony opposing the application, please come forward.
Thank you for the time.
State your name, please.
Tom Wright.
Thank you.
1401 East Ridge. So thank you for the opportunity to address you. What hasn't been brought to attention is the roads below Ammon Park do not have a sidewalk anywhere on either side of the road. Poplar Street only has one side, a walk on one side of the street, and it's a very steep hill. The city closed off the intersection of Alameda and Jefferson. All that traffic from Monte Vista above has been forced over to Poplar for people leaving. What also hasn't been mentioned on the other side of Ammon Park is a new multi-apartment complex going in and up above Ammon Park, which will bring more traffic down. So I'm not opposed to the single family, but to increase it beyond that, I think is asking too much for the roads. There's only stop signs. It's difficult to get out to Jefferson Street at times, particularly when there's a lot of traffic coming and going. It's taken me sometimes at the bottom Poplar over 10 minutes waiting for, traffic to get to where you can safely pull out. We have had accidents. Matter of fact, a city bus was struck on Poplar just in the last 2 months from someone rushing down Poplar. So I don't think that the road, I'm concerned about what I should say. I'm concerned about the increased traffic, the lack of sidewalks for walking. People are doing a lot more riding bikes and walking. And again, the property there at Ammon Park where they're proposing to have the road come out has no sidewalks in that residential area. It's going to force a lot of traffic, more traffic, and I think put some of the public, especially kids and people who like to walk or jog, at risk that maybe you should consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else providing testimony opposing the application? With no further testimony, I will ask if the applicant would like to rebuttal. Okay, thank you. And with that, I will declare the public hearing closed. I think we have a few things to talk about. I think I would like to just state that at this time we don't have a plan. We don't know. We've seen a vision, but we don't know how many apartments are going in there, and we can't really speak to traffic. But we do know that if it will create so many new cars going through there, a traffic study will be required. So we can rest assured that the city code will take care of that on our own, and that's not something that we'll have to do. Any other comments or things you guys would like to talk about regarding these?
I was a little in the dark still about what happens with the road that services the new one and ties on to Ammon. Was it intended that the city would keep up on the road, or is it part of do we know the situation on the road yet?
So, actually, I don't have that up on here. So my understanding of the application right now that you have before you is that the road is not part of this proposal.
Okay. Okay, great.
So should they come forward with that, that is something that...
I guess, yeah, that'll be a bridge we cross when we get there. This is just a rezoning.
So, and that's kind of, so if there were conditions that come up with that, regarding whether it's a city or private and so forth, that would need to be evaluated
at that
the
time.
Appropriate process. Merrill Quell is here. I'm sure he could speak to what the city would like to see through there eventually, or in any detail that the commission may have on that.
I don't think that's important at this time.
I have a question for you. It looks to me there's going to be a lot of fill brought in before they build, and it's all running downhill. I mean, you're going to have a real good water retention area there, or the people downhill are going to be, flooded out. So I don't know if you've taken extra time to figure that out as to where the retention might be.
Sure, I'll let Merrill speak to that. But again, so those type of things are start getting into things that we'd be looking at during the subdivision, or whatever process they'd be going through for that. Whether that's a planning and development, a subdivision, a building permit, those are the types of things, or when that would be evaluated.
And again, that's something the code covers. They're required to keep all runoff on site, so.
They did do a slope analysis. We have a copy of it. It's right.
So they did provide topography for the area. However, we would need a full slope analysis during that subdivision that would break it down into our code to provide that.
Yeah.
Some of that detail that we'd be looking at least on the land use side of things for that. And again, it could certainly facilitate that connection of Lakeview to Ammon, which would provide that connectivity through there. But as far as, I don't know how you condition the rezone without going through a contractual rezone to do that.
Right, thank you. Any other?
I did have a question too.
Yeah.
It's probably more for Merrill. So given the topography and the slope percentages there, I'm interested in the feasibility of roads is the topography such that it would be impossible to put roads from this piece back up into the Grove area?
No.
Is it too steep, or would they be
No,
able to?
nothing, this may be sarcastic or whatever,
But you can always grade it.
Nothing's impossible.
Okay.
If you want to put enough money to something or do something, or if you have a vision, I believe anything is possible. But to more direct your question is that the layouts will have to meet to 10% maximum grade.
Okay.
And I'm sure, looking at this and knowing what I know a little bit of the area and their layouts, they will be able to meet that criteria, and they'll have to do that per our standards.
Okay. All right.
And same with Mr. Bartu's question about stormwater. We have standards in place for the stormwater. Doesn't matter what's going to be built there, depending on the impervious area, will be required to meet those standards. Same with the traffic, to answer the traffic question. If one house or whatever goes in there, depending on the peak hour demand, will be the level of traffic evaluation or studies that we are going to need, and the circulation, if possible. We'd like to see that road connect for flexibility for emergency services, different ways like that. It's always a good way to do that. And the other question that was brought up is sidewalks and that, and the walkability, and I can see that all over town, and I'm hoping we're still working on different type of projects and through our community development block grants and stuff and different things like that in different areas to start trying to connect pieces and parts together. I don't know when we would be here. There's no timing or schedule, but we notice that in our town also all over and are working towards that too. I think I addressed everything, but if I didn't, you can call me back up next month.
One quick.
Next month.
So if that road were to be connected from Ammon over to Lakeview, I believe, would that would eliminate a lot of the congesting traffic coming up Poplar, would it not?
It would give options.
Yeah.
Two different options.
Yeah,
versus
it would
going up
give
Poplar,
options in
Alameda
different
Road.
places for different reasons, emergency services and so forth. So it would. And as far as I can see with this layout and my understanding of some of the discussions, is these would all be public roads and dedicated to the city.
Thank you.
I have one more question. What about the road that goes along the edge of Ammon Park?
The gravel road?
The gravel road that allows you to access that back end of the park. So this wouldn't affect this. Where does Ammon Park end? I guess.
Well, it doesn't end at the beginning. But you never know.
Thank you for that.
I guess you can see west of the block or south of the black line there, and then the green area is basically Ammon Park.
Yeah, but I don't know where is that gravel road part of
No,
this? or is this gravel part of-
the gravel road is on the park side right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it'll
and
say
it will
gravel.
remain a
There what?
gravel road unless you
Okay.
have more power than I do.
Nope. I like it as a gravel road.
Yeah,
Use that park all
someday
the
it
time.
will be improved, but don't know a schedule yet either.
Okay.
The aerial map shows it really well.
Does that? I'm looking at it and I'm not.
Look at the color one.
yeah.
Look at the color one.
colored
You've
one,
got the black and white
Marciano.
one. Look for your color
Well, I
one.
can kind of see it here on the black and white one too.
But as Carl said, this is all for a rezone.
Right.
To see what
Yep.
what's there. So appreciate your questioning and allowing me to come up for this opportunity.
Yeah, always happy to talk to you, Meryl.
Thank you, Meryl. Commission, any more questions, discussion?
No, I think I saw this plan and I instantly thought I forgot what we were doing, but the fact of the matter is all of this is just potentially something they might consider in the future. It's just a rezone, and as I think about the property, assuming they meet all of the requirements for city code, which they'll have to be able to build, I have no problem with apartments being up there. The traffic, the drainage, all those things will have to be sorted out during code, and if for some reason they can't make it work, they won't be able to build it, the city won't let them. So I have, if they can satisfy all those requirements, then I have no problem with more apartments being up on the hill.
And I think changing something that's non-conforming to something that's less non-conforming thing is a good
That's a good thing.
movement.
I'm thrilled to see that this is getting the rezoning, because it's an area that has been frankly a bit of an eyesore up there. And it's a park that our family uses a lot. And so I've seen the area there and thought, I don't know how that would ever get developed, and and it seems totally unsuited to residential estate. I don't know how. So I'm glad, I'm happy for this rezone as well. Did you have something you want to say?
I was just going to say that it is good that we discussed the traffic situation, because the rezoning will increase the number of people living in that area. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that was
It'll be developed.
worthwhile.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
That I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval to the City Council for the zone map amendment by MGBA Studio, finding the application does meet the standards for approval under Chapter 17.02.170 of Pocatello City Code, with the conditions listed in the staff report, and authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact.
I second.
Aislinn, did I close the public hearing? Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Hewlett and a second by Fenwick. Aislinn, will you call vote?
Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, and with that, we are going to move into a work session. This is for the commission to learn about our new comprehensive plan. You're welcome to stay, but you do not have to stay.